Hello, everyone. This is Dee Houston again from I am the Summer Food Service Program Specialist with Oklahoma State Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs. This is part 2 of the summer program training. There is part 3, so we will conduct this one, and then there will be some questions that you have to answer at the end for a test, and then there will be part 3 that you will sign into to do that section also. So we will get started. Okay, in this training, we'll review information on applying to become a summer food service program sponsor, VCA checklist for nonprofits, how applications are approved, what happens if an application is denied, what is included in the permanent sponsor agreement, what a sponsor may appeal, and a planning checklist for your program. All sponsors are required to submit an initial program application. The application process involves submittal of paper forms and online forms. A list of application requirements cannot be all-inclusive. However, the following slides indicate the basic application requirements that sponsors must satisfy. Excuse me. The application materials must demonstrate adequate administrative and financial responsibility to manage an effective food service program. School food authorities and other sponsors currently in good standing in the National School Lunch, School Breakfast, or Child and Adult Care Food Program are not required to submit further evidence of financial administrative capability when applying for the Summer Food Service Program participation. Typically, schools and CACFP sponsors participating in other child nutrition programs have already demonstrated that they have the financial and administrative capability necessary to operate the National School Lunch, School Breakfast, or CACFP. A school food authority or CACFP sponsor is considered to be in good standing if it has been reviewed during the previous 12 months and have had no significant deficiencies. However, state agency has the discretion to deny the applications or, at a minimum, require additional evidence of financial administrative capability from school food authorities and CACFP sponsors that have had significant problems operating National School Lunch, School Breakfast, or CACFP. All nonprofits are required to submit an initial VCA checklist as part of the application requirement. Once this is approved by the state agency, then access will be given to the online application to apply for participation. In order to participate in the summer program, sponsors must enter into a permanent agreement with the state agency. The agreement is a legally binding document that specifies the rights and responsibilities of both the sponsor and the state agency and should be read carefully before signed. The Healthy Hunger Free Act requires that the agreement between the state agency and the summer food service program sponsor be permanent. This means that once the state agency and the summer program sponsor enters an agreement, it does not need to be renewed. However, summer food service program sponsors operating under a permanent agreement must submit renewal information that must be approved by the state agency annually. Applicants must understand that describing the agreement as permanent means only that the agreement has no predetermined expiration date. Under certain circumstances, these agreements may be amended or canceled, and this feature of the agreement does not create contractual obligations beyond those described in the Summer Food Service Program regulations. This requirement reduces paperwork for sponsors and state agencies and simplifies program management. Under the agreement, the sponsor must agree to operate a nonprofit food service during the agreed upon period, usually from May through September for children on school vacation. So to reiterate on that, the summer program can only operate the day after the school district closes in the area of your site for the summer, and it can operate until the day before school resumes for the new school year in the summer, okay? The sponsor must also agree to serve meals that meet the program requirements at the approved sites during times designated as meal service periods by the sponsor and serve the same meal to all children. Sponsors must agree to serve meals without cost to all children. Camps may charge for meals served to children not served meals under the program. Sponsors must agree to issue a free meal policy statement, must agree to train administrative and site personnel as required, must agree to claim reimbursement only for types of meals specified in the agreement and served without charge to eligible children at approved sites during the approved meal service period. Must agree to submit claims for reimbursement as required by the state agency. Must agree to maintain proper sanitation and health standards as required by state and local law. Must agree to use program food donated by USDA and accepted by the sponsor. Must agree to have access to facilities necessary for storing, preparing, and serving food. Must agree to maintain a financial management system as prescribed by the state agency. Must agree to maintain documentation of required site visits and reviews and make all accounts and records relating to the program available to authorized officials on request, and must retain financial and administrative responsibility for the program at all times. Applicants must also submit documentation of tax exempt status under the Federal Internal Revenue Code if they are private nonprofit entities. Note, summer food service program regulations do not require church sponsors to obtain federal tax exempt documentation. Applicants must also submit W-9 form and a unique entity identification, which we call now UEI. It used to be called DUNS. A UEI is a unique identifier that includes alpha and numeric characters issued and maintained by Dun & Bradstreet that verifies the existence of a business entity globally. DMB assigns UEIs for each physical location of a business. You may go to sam.gov for issuance of a UEI. More information regarding UEIs can be found on our webpage under resources. For enrolled sites, applicants must provide a written policy statement on free meals. This policy statement, which must be approved by the state agency, explains that the same meal is served to all enrolled children regardless of reimbursement status and without discrimination against any child because of race, color, national origin, sex, age, or disability. Camps that charge separately for meals also must explain that the camp uses USDA's eligibility standards for family size and income levels at the level of reduced price school meals. Describe how the camp accepts income eligibility forms from campers and assures that children whose families receive SNAP, FIPR, or TANF benefits are automatically eligible for free meals. Describe how the camp will collect payments from children who must pay the full price for their meals and how the camp ensures that children receiving free meals are not overtly identified. Ensure that the camp has a hearing procedure for families who want to appeal a denial of eligibility for free meals, and assure that if a family requests a hearing, the child will continue to receive free meals until a decision is made by the hearing official. To reiterate on the bullet above here where it says, ensure that children receive free meals are not overtly identified. Overtly identified means the children are coming through your line at the camp, and you say, oh yeah, Johnny, you owe me, $2.50 for your meal. And, oh, Sally, you're okay, you're free. You can't do that. You're overtly identifying those children in front of other children and other people, setting them apart, and that's not right, and that's not allowed. It's against the rules, and that's called overtly identified. Sponsors must submit documentation demonstrating site eligibility for all sites, and sponsors must submit a sample 1-month menu for all meals offered at each site. So yes, you must submit to me a 1-month menu for each of your sites if the menus are different at different sites. Now, whether you change your menus weekly or every 2 weeks or monthly, you still must submit me a month or 4 weeks worth of menus unless your program is shorter than that, okay? Once the application is approved, sponsors can find an example of the media release at the website on this slide. This will need to be put on your letterhead and sent to the news media as well as the local health department. A copy of these 2 letters should be sent to me here at the state agency before the application can be finally approved. Purpose of the media release is to announce the availability of free meals, the non-discrimination policy, and complaint procedures if an individual wishes to file a complaint for violation of non-discrimination policy. Sponsors that plan to use a food service management company to provide meals must submit a copy of the invitation for bid if applicable. Sponsors also should submit plans for advertisement for bids if they intend to contract with a food service management company. Sponsors that plan to use a school food authority to provide meals must submit a copy of the vended meal agreements. Sponsors must certify that a training program will be conducted for monitors and site personnel, including information explaining when training will be held and the topics that will be discussed. If the sponsor is a governmental entity or a private nonprofit organization, the sponsor must certify that it will have direct operational control at each one of their sites. The Summer Food Service Program application consists of both sponsor information and site information. The sponsor information includes contact information for the sponsor, contact information for administrative staff, the management plan or budget based on estimated administrative and operating costs for the upcoming year, and information on the meal service, etc. The site application includes documentation that the site is capable of managing an effective meal service times, documentation of eligibility, average daily attendance, etc. A site application must be completed for each participating site. The application addendum is required for all sponsors before approval may begin, and that form is on our website at www.sde.ok.gov/summer food, all one word. And we will probably hammer this in your head more than once in this training. The deadline for submitting the application and all supporting documents must be submitted each year by April 30th. Within 30 days of receiving a completed application, the state agency will notify the applicant of its approval or disapproval. If the application is incomplete, the state agency will notify the applicant within 15 days and provide technical assistance if needed to help the applicant complete the application process. Approval to participate must be denied to any applicant found to be seriously deficient in the operation of any federal child nutrition program, including those disqualified from CACFP. Sponsors will receive reimbursement only for meals that are served after they have been approved for program operations. Sponsors must be certain that they have been approved before they begin their meal service. So once your application is approved, there's an email sent out to you letting you know your summer program application has been approved. You cannot start your operations and feed children until you get that email. If you do, you cannot claim and be reimbursed for those meals. You must not start your program until you've been officially notified that the application has been approved. Once an initial application has been approved by the state agency, more limited annual updates to the application will be required. Federal law requires that sponsors submit an annual budget for approval by the state agency each year. And we have a form on our website. It's called the Planning Checklist. It summarizes the Summer Food Service Program planning activities, and it's available again on the web page. Okay, so we are already going to move on to the next slide section. And it is going to cover training, which kind of brushed on it in the part 1 of the training, but this is going to be more extensive. After sponsors are approved to operate the Summer Food Service Program, they must operate the program in compliance with federal regulations, Summer Food Service Program instructions, circulars, guidance materials, and applicable state and local laws. This session will cover specific training requirements for the sponsor's administrative staff, monitors, and site staff. A comprehensive training effort on program requirements will help ensure a smoothly operated program. Monitoring site administrative personnel are performing their duties according to program regulations. Meals will be eligible for reimbursement. Accurate and adequate records are available to document the cost of meals claimed. Improvements in site quality and benefits to participating children are maximized. Training is enhanced when good communication is established with the in-office staff members, the monitors, and the site staff. The state agency provides annual training for some of the food service program sponsors. Additionally, sponsors must annually train all administrative staff, monitor staff, and site staff before they undertake their responsibilities. The date training occurred, names of attendees, and documentation of the topics covered must be recorded for each training session offered. And we have training checklists on our website for you. If they already have sign-in lines on them and everything, so you are more than welcome to use those forms when you conduct your training. You must keep training records. The specific training needs of the sponsor's administrative staff will vary. Sponsors who have multiple sites may have administrative staff with varying summer food service program duties and responsibilities. Sponsors personnel helping to administer the summer program at the sponsor level may include the office staff, such as assistants, clerks, bookkeepers, and/or secretaries, area supervisors, and monitors. Sponsors operating a single site may have only one or two persons responsible for administering all aspects of the program. Specific areas of the training may require greater depth with different employees. For example, the staff responsible for monitoring the summer program operations at the site level requires an in-depth knowledge of summer program site operations, meal pattern requirements, record keeping, and conducting site monitoring visits and reviews with follow-ups as necessary. Staff responsible for only the meal preparation and the meal service requires knowledge of the summer meal pattern requirements and record keeping associated with receiving, preparing, and completing the point of service meal counts. Training for administrative staff should cover the topics listed in the training checklist for administrative staff. Again, these checklists can be found on our website, and they have sign-in lines for all your training attendees to sign in. Begin with a general explanation of the program, emphasizing the following topics: purpose of the summer program, site eligibility, record-keeping requirements, organized site activity if applicable, meal requirements, and non-discrimination compliance. Describe specific details regarding how the program will operate in the sponsored organization, use of the cycle menu, delivery receipt form, data reporting forms for sites. Include in this discussion how meals will be provided, the delivery schedule, if applicable, and what records are kept and what forms are used. If a separate training is not held for monitors, provide an overview of the specific duties of monitors, including conducting site visits and reviews, listing sites for which they are responsible, the monitoring schedule, the reporting procedure, the follow-up procedure, office procedures as applicable, and use of the monitor review form, visit review form, and mileage log if you pay mileage. Well-trained monitors who are knowledgeable in program requirements and duties will provide meaningful feedback to the sponsors. Therefore, monitors should be present at both the site and administrative training to ensure a comprehensive understanding of program operations at both levels. Since the monitoring function is so important to proper program operations and receiving a full reimbursement, sponsors should conduct separate training sessions for monitors that highlight their specific roles and duties. The training of monitors should outline the specific duties of monitors, including sites for which they will be responsible, conducting site visits reviews, monitoring schedules, reporting record keeping procedures, follow-up procedures, office procedures, local sanitation and health laws, civil rights, reporting of racial ethnic data, and considerations for personal safety if necessary. Materials to use in training monitors will include the pre-operational visit form, the first 2-week visit form, site review forms, monitor mileage log, ethnic and racial data form, and the monitor's guide. These forms can be found under forms, and the monitor's guide can also be found on our website under USDA manuals. Summer food service program regulations require that no food service site may operate until personnel at the site have attended at least one of the sponsored training sessions. This is an annual requirement. You must train on the summer food service program annually, whether you're at the sponsor level or the site level or the monitor level. Sponsors must document the attendance at site training sessions and schedule additional sessions for those staff that are absent. Regulations also require that at least one person has been trained by the sponsor be present at each of the sponsor's site during the time of meal service. Can I please repeat that? Regulations also require that at least one person who has been trained by the sponsor be present at each of the sponsor's sites during the time of meal service. This means that if a site supervisor who has attended the sponsor's training session resigns during the summer, the sponsor is responsible for ensuring that the new site supervisor receives all necessary summer food service program training before they take charge of that site. At a minimum, sponsors should be certain that they cover the following topics in the training session for site personnel. Begin with a general explanation of the program, purpose of the summer program, site eligibility, necessity for accurate records, and importance of organized activities at the sites if applicable. Describe how the site will operate, types of meals, meal pattern requirements, and adjusting the number of meals. Procedures for sites obtaining meals from food service management companies, other commercial meal vendors, or the sponsor's central kitchen as appropriate, and delivery schedules and who to contact regarding problems with the deliveries. Explain the record keeping requirements, including daily record keeping requirements, delivery receipts, records documenting seconds, leftovers, and spoiled meals, daily labor records, collection of daily record forms, and maintaining copies of meal service forms. Outline the monitor's responsibilities. Discuss the monitor's duties and authority, areas of assignment, and introduction to your site supervisors. Explain civil rights requirements. A civil rights training is provided by the state agency on civil rights requirements. This training can be found on OSDE Connect at the link on the slide. Or you can go to our website and go to the training tab over to the right in blue, and we have the links to the training there also. Explain other miscellaneous policies, such as the sponsor's policies regarding inclement weather and alternate serving areas, problems with unauthorized adults eating program meals, problems with discipline, use of equipment, facilities, and materials available for organized recreational activities, regarding trash removal, implementing corrective action, and nutrition education. Materials to use in training site staff include the cycle menus, food production forms, inventory and delivery forms, monitoring forms, daily meal count forms, and again, all of these forms are located on our website. Site personnel and monitors must understand the importance of accurate point of service meal counts. This is very critical. Only complete meals served to eligible children can be claimed for reimbursement. Therefore, meals must be counted as they are served at the actual point of service. A child's meal is counted by marking off the appropriate number on the meal count form when the child has picked up the complete reimbursable meal and passed your person at the end of the line that's doing the point of count meal service. One child at a time. Again, you cannot count down and mark off 5 kids and say, oh, I have a little boy up to the red shirt. That's not a proper point of sale meal count. Meal counts are not done by counting leftover meals and trays or by marking the meal count record after several children have gone through the line. Counting meals at the point of service allows site personnel to ensure that only complete meals are claimed for reimbursement. Therefore, only site personnel who have been trained in point of service meal counts may sign the daily meal count records. And again, this is a somewhat decent picture of the daily meal count form. And again, it is located on our website. In summary, this session has covered the training requirements for the sponsor and the summer program staff, including administrative personnel, site monitors, and site staff. An in-depth discussion of training requirements is located in the USDA Summer Food Service Program Administrative Guidance for sponsors. Sponsors are encouraged to review this section of the guidebook to ensure staff is trained in compliance with USDA regulations and requirements. And again, like I said on this slide here, this is the name of the different specific manuals or guides that the USDA has. Plus, we've entered or added the food buying guide and the food buying guide calculator. An in-depth discussion of training requirements is located again in the USDA Summer Food Service Program Administrative Guidance for sponsors. Sponsors are encouraged to review this section of the guidebook to ensure staff is trained in compliance with USDA regulations and requirements. USDA SFSP guide materials are available at this website at USDA under handbooks, or it's on our website, the link to them. We have the link here on the website here on your slide for the food buying guide and the food buying guide calculator. They are very, very important literature and stuff that you need to have, especially the food buying guide, but all of them. So we have concluded this portion of the training PowerPoints. The next training PowerPoint section will be over civil rights. Before I even get started, if you are a school district and you have employees that are going to work for you for the summer program and they've already taken the civil rights training for the school year, just get a copy of that sign-in sheet and have it in your summer records. If they're new employees that have not had civil rights training, or of course, if you're a nonprofit sponsors, then you must train all your employees on civil rights. It is a must. And we have that training again, like I mentioned earlier, on the website. There's a link to it, and you can just pull up that training and go over it with your staff members and everything, and have them sign a training sign-in sheet showing, and keep those records showing all the training you've conducted. Civil rights requirements are intended to ensure benefits of child nutrition programs are made available to all eligible participants in a non-discriminatory manner. All sponsors receiving federal monies must implement the civil rights requirements to be eligible for the program. Discrimination is defined as different treatment to people which makes a distinction of one person or a group of persons from others, either intentionally by neglect or by the actions or lack of actions based on the protected classes. The USDA non-discrimination statement contains numerous protected classes, which will not apply to all programs. The 6 protected classes relevant to Oklahoma child nutrition programs, summer food service program, remains limited to race, color, national origin, sex, age, and disability. Discrimination can be easily remembered by thinking of the 4 Ds. Discrimination is when an individual or group of individuals are delayed receiving benefits or services that others receive, denied benefits or services that others receive, treated differently than others to their disadvantage, or given disparate treatment, something which does not seem discriminatory but has a discriminatory impact in practice. Any participant or potential participant may submit a civil rights complaint of unequal treatment verbally or in writing. Complainants may choose to directly contact USDA with their complaints, contact Oklahoma State Department of Education child nutrition programs with their complaints, or notify you, the sponsor, of their complaints. Sponsor must forward all discrimination complaints received regarding the summer food service program to the Oklahoma State Department of Education child nutrition programs office within 3 working days. The complaint must be filed within 180 days of the alleged discriminatory action. All sponsors must develop a written civil rights complaint procedure and implement this procedure. Sponsors may adopt Oklahoma Summer Food Service Program prototype procedure located on the webpage. If sponsors choose this option, they must put the sponsor's name at the top of the procedure and then train all staff on this procedure. The civil rights complaint procedure is as follows. A civil rights complaint is received by the sponsor either verbally or in writing. Next, the sponsor logs the complaint in the civil rights complaint log. Additionally, the sponsor gives the complainant the civil rights complaint form, or the sponsor assists the complainant to complete the civil rights complaint form if needed. If the complainant returns the civil rights complaint form to the sponsor again must forward the civil rights complaint form to the state agency within 3 working days. Civil rights complaint forms must be readily available at each and every one of your sites, including your main office, even though it's not a serving site. The sponsor must make every attempt to help the complainant complete the civil rights complaint form. So what I've always suggested is to get a specific color of folder, like a red folder, and put the civil rights complaint form and instructions of the civil rights complaint log, which we'll get to in a minute, and everything in it, and make sure every staff member at every site knows exactly where that specific color of form, or I'm sorry, folder is, because if we walk in, or the USDA walks in, and they've gone to summer reviews before, and ask where the civil rights complaint form is, every employee must know how to find that quickly. All discrimination complaints must be documented in, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't switch my slide, I apologize. All discrimination complaints must be documented in the civil rights complaint log, like I said we'd get to. The civil rights complaint log must be dated and kept for 3 years plus the current year. So we're going into 2023. So you have 2023, 2022, 2021, 2020, if you're on the program all those years. And you must keep this log even if no complaints have been received. At the end of each fiscal year, write across the log, like this year you would write, at the end of this year, you would write 2023, and you would write no complaints received if no complaints were received that year. And that log must be kept at each site, again, 3 years plus the current year. Okay. This here is the short non-discrimination statement that needs to go on all of your literature, whether it be the website, whether it be your letter to the health department, or to the, I just drew a blank, where else are you sending a letter to? Media, and your menus, any literature, any posters, any flyers you pass out or anything. This statement must be on all literature pertaining to the summer food service program. I will show you in the next slide the long version of the discrimination statement, and you can print it on your literature, but you're going to see why you don't want to, because it is 1, 2, 3, 4 slides long. So just remember, let me go back for you right quick. This short statement here is the non-discrimination statement that must be on all literature, websites, or anything pertaining to child nutrition programs and summer food service programs. Okay? And again, this is the non-discrimination statement must be included on program materials such as enrollment forms, menus, employee handbooks, newsletters, brochures, parent or student handbooks, print or broadcast ads, flyers, and websites, like I mentioned just previously. All sponsors are responsible for ensuring program access for those with limited English proficiency that we call LEP. LEP is defined as individuals who have limited ability to read, speak, write, or understand English. Reasonable steps must be taken to ensure meaningful access to the program and activities. Some examples of reasonable accommodations may include providing documents in a variety of languages, providing translation services to those that need help in completing applications, and providing verbal information for those that are unable to read the written information provided. Consider these factors when determining reasonable steps to accommodating limited English proficiency. Number or proportion of people with limited English proficiency in a service population area. The greater the number, the higher the need. The frequency with which agencies or sponsors have or could expect to have contact with an individual from different language groups seeking assistance. The more frequent the contact with a particular language group, the more likely that enhanced language services in that language are needed. The importance of the service provided. Will denial of the service cause a serious life-threatening implication? Resources available and the cost involved. Share resources with other sponsors to help you save money if needed. Sponsors are to collect racial and ethnic data annually and maintain the data on file. The state agency may require seeing this information at any time. State agency will review the racial and ethnic data during administrative reviews. Do not send racial and ethnic data to the state agency unless we request it. This summer's food service program has a specific form to report the information and keep in your files. So in the past, they were letting you use visual identification to fill. I'm sorry, here, let me get to the next slide. I'm kind of jumping myself. Okay. An important point to note regarding racial and ethnic data collection is it is optional for participants to provide racial and ethnic information. That means like the children and stuff that are attending your summer site and stuff, because it's, you know, it's discriminatory to ask them what racial background they're from. So you can't just point blank ask them. However, it is a requirement for sponsors to collect and maintain racial and ethnic data on an annual basis. School districts may also use student enrollment information. Or school districts, you have the, what's it called? It's kind of called the same thing that you do every October. You could use your numbers off of that. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but the school districts know what I'm talking about. I think it is called racial and ethnic data form or something very similar to that you have to collect and put in your records every October. So school districts, you can refer to that and get a copy of that, have it in your summer records. USDA has changed regulations on visual data, like I started to mention, and as of date, we have received no guidance on how to collect racial and ethnic data. Non-school district summer program sponsors could contact the school near each of their sites and record that school's racial and ethnic data. So you could contact the school near the nearest to each one of your sites and ask them for their report that they do on racial and ethnic data in October, because it's just numbers, and they can give you numbers all day long. They can't give you names, but they can give you numbers. Racial and ethnic data collection is a two-step process. Separate categories will be used when collecting and reporting race and ethnicity of participants. You may collect this information either from enrollment records or actual attendance. The information is recorded from a specific point in time, for instance, 1 day or 1 month, depending on what information you have available to you. Ethnicity is determined first, then racial designation second. The only designations for collection on ethnicity are Hispanic or Latino, and not Hispanic or Latino. Hispanic or Latino is defined as a person of Cuban, Mexican, Puerto Rican, South or Central American, or other Spanish culture or origin, regardless of race. The civil rights must-do list includes sponsors must offer any child nutrition program in a non-discriminatory manner. Sponsors must train staff annually on civil rights, document the training on the summer program training log form, and retain the documentation on file for 3 years plus the current year. Sponsors must develop and fully implement civil rights complaint procedures. Sponsors must make available to all staff the civil rights complaint forms, civil rights complaint log, and the civil rights complaint procedures. Again, like I told you, all these forms are on our website, and I told you the best thing to do is get the same color folder for all sites and put the civil rights in that folder and make sure every staff member knows exactly where it's at. Additionally, sponsors must prominently display the Injustice for All poster at each site and in the sponsor's office. Ensure the non-discrimination statements be on all printed and electronic materials available to the public which mention USDA and our child nutrition programs, meals, and snacks. Offer meals to all participants in a non-discriminatory manner, and collect racial and ethnic data annually. And if you need the civil rights, Injustice for All poster, or some people call it civil rights poster, just let me know, because I can send those to, excuse me. Okay, next section of this part 2 training is going to talk about summer food service program payments. Topics covered in this session are advances, program reimbursement, advances, program reimbursement, allowable and unallowable program costs, management responsibilities, and non-reimbursable meals. The methods and procedures for program payments are discussed also. Program payments are the reimbursement that sponsors receive based on the number of meals they serve that meet summer program requirements for reimbursement. So to kind of elaborate on that, especially those of you that might be new or just coming back and kind of don't remember all the rules with the summer program, or even if you're seasoned sponsors, remember that the first month of operation, whether you operate a whole month or you operate 2 weeks in that month, is going to be your own individual sponsor entity money to operate that program, because you cannot turn in a reimbursement claim till the end of the month. So let's say you open on June 1st, and you operate the entire month of June. Your funding from your organization or your school or general fund or something, is going to have to, or even child nutrition with the school, is going to have to fund the program for the month of June. And then once the month of June is up, as of July 1st, you can enter your claim for reimbursement to get reimbursement back for June. But that's why we require a VCA for nonprofits, because we have to determine that you are financially viable to run this program with funding and how you allot your expenses and stuff. And so these are the reasons why we asked for what we've asked for. Okay. When sponsors apply for the program, they have the option to request advance payments. Advance payments may be requested for operating costs, administrative costs, or both operating and administrative costs. When determining the amount of the advance payment, the state agency will make the best possible estimate based on the sponsor's request and any other available data. These payments are advances on the reimbursement that sponsors will receive for a month of operation. Advances are considered a short-term loan. Let me say that again. Advances are considered a short-term loan. Sponsors receiving an advance must pay the advance back. An advance is paid back through deduction from the future reimbursement payment for the month the advance was requested. So if you requested an advance for the month of June, for example, and we gave you an advance, let's say we gave you an advance of $3,000, and your reimbursement was only $2,500, then we will take that whole reimbursement and you will still owe us $500. Now, I'm not trying to dissuade you from asking for advance payments. I just want to make sure you understand how they work. Sponsors must request each advance payment for operating costs from the state agency at least 30 days before the payment dates of June 1, July 15, and August 15. If sponsors participated in the previous year's program, the advance payments for operating costs are usually based on the reimbursement they earned during the same month of the previous year. The state agency may also estimate advance payments as a percentage of anticipated costs. A sponsor operating a site for less than 10 days in any given month may not receive an advance for operating costs for that month. Sponsors must request each advance payment for administrative costs from the state agency at least 30 days before the payment dates of June 1 and July 15. Sponsors planning to operate the program for less than 10 days again cannot receive advance payments for administrative costs for that month. State agency may adjust the amount of advances based on monitoring or audits. Reimbursements are based on the number of reimbursable meals served multiplied by the sum of administrative and operational rates. Sponsors must maintain complete records to document all costs and meals they claim for reimbursement. Sites must be approved by the state agency prior to claiming meals for reimbursement. Sponsors are not eligible for reimbursement unless they have signed an agreement with the state agency and your application has been approved. Necessary records to be maintained are discussed in the state agency training under record keeping. Camp sponsors can be reimbursed only for meals served to children who are eligible for free or reduced price meals according to the income guidelines for National School Lunch. With state agency approval, camps may claim reimbursement for serving up to 3 meals or 2 meals and 1 snack to eligible children each day. Therefore, a camp may not claim reimbursement for snacks on days that it claims reimbursement for breakfast, lunch, and supper. Alternately, a camp may not claim reimbursement for a 3rd meal on days that it claims a snack for reimbursement. Camp reimbursements are based on the number of children served who are eligible for free or reduced price meals. Sponsors of camps must maintain the documentation that demonstrates the free or reduced price meal eligibility of the children they claim reimbursement for and must make it available for review by the state agency. Camps may also charge non-eligible children a separate fee for meals. The current year summer program reimbursement rates are located on our website. And again, here's our website on the slide that I've mentioned multiple times in these trainings. Reimbursements may be used to cover allowable operating costs that include but are not limited to the cost of food used, non-food supplies used in the food service, like your sporks, your trays, your napkins, things like that that you have to have to serve a meal, and space for the food service. Reimbursements may be used to cover allowable administrative costs incurred by the organization for activities related to planning, organizing, and administering the summer program. As previously mentioned, the summer program has two different levels of administrative reimbursement rates. The higher reimbursement rates are for sponsors of sites to prepare or assemble their own meals, which we call self-prep, and for sponsors of sites located in rural areas. The lower rate is for all other sponsors, which would be like your urban sponsors and sponsors that contract with food service management companies, etc. A rural area is any area that is not part of a metropolitan statistical area as defined by the Office of Management and Budget, which we call OMB. With the approval of the state agency, an area may be defined as rural if it is a part of a metropolitan statistical area but is isolated from the urban center. The state agency will be able to provide information on whether sites are considered rural for program purposes. According to a study conducted by FNS, sponsors that prepare their own meals and operate in rural areas may incur higher costs than other sponsors. Therefore, additional administrative reimbursement is provided to sponsors who serve meals at rural sites and for self-prepared meals. And again, the link at the bottom of the slide here, you can go to determine if you're considered urban or rural in your area. Unallowable costs are costs for which program funds may not be used. Some examples of unallowable costs are costs for excess meals ordered or prepared but not served to eligible children. For example, meals in excess of legitimate program adult meals and reimbursable meals unless specifically approved by the state agency. Unallowable costs are meals served in violation of program requirements. For example, foods served that do not meet the meal pattern requirements, meals or unapproved components consumed off-site, or second meals served in excess of the 2% tolerance if your sponsor, if you as a sponsor allow seconds. The unallowable costs are the cost to purchase food, including coffee, etc., for use outside of the summer program. Unallowable costs are repayment of overclaims and other federal debts. And unallowable costs are the cost of meals served to adults that are not in the operation of the summer food service program. Funds accruing to the program must be documented, but will not be deducted from a sponsor's reimbursement. Sources of funds that are considered program income include cash donations, specifically identified for the use of the summer program, any federal, state, or local funds specifically provided to the program, and income from price of meals served to non-program adults. Any reimbursements or funds that exceed a sponsor's expenditures must be used in a way that benefits the summer program services to children or other child nutrition programs operated by the sponsor. Excuse me. Sponsors with funds remaining at the end of the program year should use them as startup funds or for improving summer food program services in the following year. Sponsors may not transfer excess funds to operations that are not related to child nutrition programs or to increase salary or fringe benefit costs when the sole purpose of the increase is to reduce the food service program balance. If the sponsor will not be participating in the summer program the next year, funds may be used toward the sponsor's provision of other child nutrition programs. If the sponsor does not operate in any other child nutrition programs, the state agency will collect any excess or positive funds you have when your summer program closes. Sponsors receive their program payments based on the number of meals served multiplied by the appropriate combined administrative and operating rates for reimbursement. Sponsors assume complete responsibility for all of the information they submit on their claims. Claims for reimbursement must reflect only meals that meet summer program requirements and are actually served to eligible children during the claiming period. And to reiterate on that, if you are contracted with a food service management company, it must be a school district employee that fills out the summer application and submits the summer claims and stuff. Because your contract as a school district is with us. Your contract with the food service management company is a third party to us. Our contract is with you. So a school district employee must submit and fill out the summer program application and claims and everything. A food service management company employee cannot do those for you. Sponsors receive their program payments based on the number of meals served. I already said that. I am so sorry. Based on records that are regularly submitted by the sites, sponsors must report the number and type of first and second meals served to all children. Sponsors of camps need to report the meals served to eligible children only. The total number of second meals claimed cannot exceed 2% of the number of first meals for each type of meal served during the claiming period. Oklahoma State Department of Ed Child Nutrition Programs can provide further guidance on serving second meals and on those situations where second meals will not be reimbursed. The sample consolidation form for first and second meals is included in the attachment section of the USDA Administrative Guide for Sponsors, which is one of your guides you can get off our website. Sponsors must maintain records of all operating and administrative costs, as well as any program income received. These records must be available for review by the Oklahoma State Department of Education Child Nutrition Program. Sponsors that contract with food service management companies for some or all aspects of the management of the food service program may allow the food service management company to conduct the same activities for the summer program that are performed with National School Lunch. Sponsors must maintain responsibility, like I just mentioned a while ago, for submitting claims, submitting applications, and remains accountable for ensuring all summer program requirements are met. Sponsors may claim reimbursement only for those meals that meet summer program requirements. Reimbursements may not be claimed for meals not served as a complete unit, meal patterns or types not approved by the state agency, meals served at sites not approved by the state agency, meals consumed off-site except in the case of approved field trips, or if you allow a fruit, vegetable, or grain to be taken off-site. More than one meal served to a child at a time, so if you hand a child 2 trays, you can't claim both those trays. And second meals in excess of the 2% of the first meals served in a claiming period, which would be a month's time. Also, items that cannot be claimed for reimbursement meals and meals served outside of approved timeframes or approved dates of operation. That kind of reflects on what I said. If you start the program before your application is approved, you cannot claim those meals because your program should never start before you receive official notice from the state agency that your application has been approved. Meals served to ineligible children in camps, meals that are spoiled or damaged, meals in excess of the site's approved level of meal service or your site capacity, meals that were not served at all, and meals served to anyone other than eligible children. In this session, information on advances, reimbursement claims, unallowable costs, and non-reimbursable meals were discussed. So this concludes part 2 of the summer application training. And so we will see you on the flip side for part 3. Thank you.